Mr. Kumar, many thanks for joining us on NDTV today.
It's my pleasure.
For the benefit of our viewers, introduce yourself and walk us through the role that you played formally in the past at the Group Executive Council at Tata Sons.
Yeah, so, I spent about 25 years before I came here teaching at Harvard, Northwestern, IMD and London Business School. And in that role, most of the time I did very little teaching. Most of my time was spent doing research as well as consulting for the top companies in the world. So I must have worked with about 100 plus CEOs, including 50 Fortune 500 companies, in helping these companies A, develop strategy, and B, give them feedback on strategies they had developed. So once I came to the Tata Sons, my role was pretty similar. My job was to help the chairman to develop the strategy for the Tata Group in consultation with the board of directors of Tata Sons, as well as be a resource for any other group operating company that wanted feedback on their strategy, as well as to sit on the boards of some Tata companies as the Tata Sons representatives on that company. The way the Group Executive Council was conceptualized, it was conceptualized as centers of excellence. So I was considered to be, for example, the Center for Excellence for Strategy, so that any group company that wanted feedback or inputs on their strategy, by invitation, could invite me. And if they didn't invite me, then that was fine, then I didn't show up. They could invite me to give them feedback on any strategy they developed or inputs into the strategy they were developing. So that was pretty much the role. It wasn't an operational role, but it was an advisory center of excellence kind of role.
To what extent had the strategy fallen into place, and also what was your level of interaction with management at Tata Group companies?
So the companies, you see, the way I interacted with the companies is in 2 or 3 different ways. One is I was on the board of directors of some companies as the Tata Sons representative. So there I have to play the role of a board of director who's from the Tata Sons, and then, ask the questions of CEOs based on that role. The second was sometimes CEOs like Noel Tata or Mukundan from Tata Chemicals or Ajay Misra from TGBL would invite me to say, we are having a strategy session. Could you come and join? Or we are having our person develop some strategy. Could you come and give them some advice? Could you give them some inputs? Could you give them some feedback? Could you push them a little bit? So that was the second kind of role I played. And the third time I interacted with the group operating companies was if they came and presented to the chairman, then the chairman would often pull me into the meetings to say, listen, help me understand their strategy and help me, give them feedback.
I'll ask again, to what extent had the strategy that you'd been working on fallen into place, or was it a work in progress?
A strategy, no matter which company, no matter which time, is always a work in progress. You can never say strategy is not something which you say is done now, no need to do anything more, because, in the end, you have to remember that strategy is a conversation, and as times change, as environment changes, you have to change your strategy. As the results come in, change, your strategy changes. So strategy is an ongoing evolution forever. So you will never say my strategy is done. You'll always say my strategy has a roadmap, but from this roadmap will of course be, everybody has a strategy until you're punched in the face. So once you go out in the market with a strategy, something will happen which will make you change and make you, adapt your strategy. And that's part of strategy making. So yes, it was accepted by the board of Tata Sons because we took the Tata Sons board 3 times through this strategy document, once in June 2015, then in December 2015, and then in June 2016. All the times a day or so long sessions, and so they gave their feedback, we evolved the strategy, then they gave their feedback again, we evolved the strategy, and I suspect this was continued forever.
You talked about the board giving feedback and the strategy evolving. To what extent had the board bought the strategy?
They bought it 100%. Because the strategy was their strategy, it wasn't my strategy. See, again, you are assuming in your question that I make the strategy with the chairman and then the board approves it. It's not like that. These one-day sessions were there for a reason. That was where we were interacting with the board to create the strategy. So a strategy is co-created between the executives and the board, and then is owned by both. So there's no question of approval or not approval, bought or not bought. So in the end, the strategy we had was the Tata Sons board strategy. So any criticism should be directed actually to the Tata Sons board, not me.
Okay. Now, how would you describe the fallout between Tata Sons and Cyrus-Mistry?
Listen, I have the greatest respect for Tata Group. The Tata Group has been a wonderful group. It has incredible people, and most of the 675,000 people working in that group are fantastic people who are doing their job with great sincerity and following the values of the group. So, I feel for them, because this episode has been unfortunate for them. It really has nothing to do with them at some level. It's a fallout between, at the top level, but unfortunately it affects everybody all down the line. So it's very unfortunate is the way I can describe it. It was not something Cyrus asked for. He was sitting in his office quietly doing his job until, without any notice, without any process, without any rationale, which has even yet to be provided, he was fired in a minute. Even though his contract was coming over in 6 months, and they could have said very kindly to him that, listen, Cyrus, things are not working out. Why don't we end it in April 2017 when your contract is finishing? And, if they had said it like that, he may have even said, okay, let's end it sooner. But, instead of doing that, they just come 1 minute before the board meeting and say, Cyrus, we are going to fire you. I mean, that's not really the way that you do things in any large corporation or in any kind of corporation. And then you don't provide a rationale. You can't fire somebody as important as the chairman of Tata Sons without providing any rationale for it. And I think up to now, they're still trying to look for a rationale. And in fact, what I read in one of the magazines, I can't remember which one, Indian magazine, which said that at the CEO meeting that took place the day after he was fired with Ratan Tata, one of the CEOs asked Ratan Tata, why did you fire Tatas-Mistry? And according to this magazine, Ratan Tata said, I'll take that rationale with me to the grave, the reason with me to the grave. Well, all I can say to that, from nothing, it goes to nothing.
What about statements around Cyrus-Mistry's non-performance in his role as chairman of Tata Sons?
So I've not seen any statement saying that he did not perform, but I have heard rumors, because one of the things I'm finding is that the Tata Sons people are leaking, to various press people, various documents and various opinions selectively. And it's unfortunate that, a group as venerated as the Tata Group with the kind of values they have has resorted to leaking documents selectively. But anyway, it is what it is. So one of the contentions they have is that Cyrus-Mistry didn't perform, and to which I have a very simple answer. He has been evaluated 50 to 60 times a year for the last 2 years by the board members of the operating companies as well as by the Tata Sons board. So all we need to do is, instead of selectively leaking, I ask Tata Sons to fully reveal all the performance evaluations of Cyrus-Mistry, the last 50 or 60. They must be having at least 100 performance evaluations over 2 years of Cyrus-Mistry done by the board directors of operating companies as well as the Tata Sons board. Just reveal all of them, reveal the board minutes related to the performance of Cyrus-Mistry at the Tata Sons board, and let's hear the real story, as to how did the people who were supposed to evaluate Cyrus-Mistry evaluate him. Rather than, making these contentions that he didn't perform, let's just see the performance evaluations of the last 2 years of Cyrus-Mistry, which have been done 50 or 60 times. And I can tell you what is in there. It's unanimous positive praise for him.
But surely revealing board minutes comes with the risk of revealing business strategy.
No, just reveal. No. It's not true. It's not true at all. I disagree with you. I mean, if the Tata Sons want to hide behind this kind of skirt, they are welcome to do so. But really, they can reveal just the paragraph on the performance. It was one paragraph in the Tata Sons board minutes of June. Just reveal the one paragraph. There's no strategy documented. All it talks about is Cyrus-Mistry's performance. It talks about how Vijay Singh praised his performance. It talks about how Ronan Sen praised his performance. And it says, we will give you a raise of X%.
Okay. What to your mind, Mr. Kumar, are possible resolution steps to minimize, damage to all the companies in the Tata Group?
Okay. The damage to the Tata Sons, to the Tata Group has already been done, because as you know, they lost 100,000 crores, it seems, approximately in market cap, the group companies. So that damage has been done. Why was that damage done? Because unprovoked attack on Cyrus-Mistry without any kind of gentlemanly way of doing the process of firing a chairman. I'm not saying they don't have the right to fire the chairman. They have a right to fire the chairman, but it has to be done according to a process, because that's what we believe in companies. This is not a Lala company. This is the Tata Group. Right? You can't just wake up one morning and tell the chairman that you're fired. You have to give a reason for it, and you have to make sure that reason is consistent with the past evaluations that you have given him with respect to his performance. Now, how do you resolve this? I don't know. What Cyrus is fighting for, he's fighting for the Tata Sons and the Tata Group and the Tata brand is linked to India's corporate image. He's fighting to make sure that the Tata Group has the highest standards of corporate governance. If they want to fix the solution, they have to call him up like a gentleman, I suspect, and say that these are the processes we'll put in place so that the Tata Group will continue to endure in the future, will have the highest standards of corporate governance, and will not be run on the whims of one person, no matter who he is or she is.
What about the fractured relationship between Tata Trusts and Cyrus-Mistry?
Listen, I don't know the relationship between Tata Trust and the chairman, because there's only one person in the Tata Trust who I saw, or two people who I saw usually interacted with Cyrus-Mistry. So it's probably one of those two people, rather than saying it's the Tata Trust, because the rest of the people were invisible to me, at least to me in the year, and I don't think they came and met Cyrus-Mistry either. So the Tata Sons Trust nominees on the board were Nitin Noria and Vijay Singh. So as far as I know, how did they interact with Cyrus-Mistry on the board? They interacted very nicely with him on the board. Vijay Singh even praised him in the last performance evaluation for the work that he had done with Tata Motors. So I don't think there's a fractured relationship at that level. Forget the relationship. That is, an interpersonal thing. Let's focus on the problem. The problem is, how should the Tata Group be governed which is consistent with, number one, the highest levels of corporate governance, number two, the Tata values, number three, the interests of the minority shareholders, and number four, also the interests of the promoter group. Because among the promoter and the shareholder of Tata Sons is also, of course, Cyrus-Mistry. So, the problem is what we should work on. Forget the personalities. The personalities are irrelevant. What matters is the problem. The problem is the Tata Sons and the Tata Group have a problem with respect to corporate governance, and that's the problem that Cyrus-Mistry is trying to resolve.
Independent directors can play an important role in establishing the governance norms that you talk of, but they find themselves in a tricky situation. What can they do?
So the independent directors, as you rightly say, find themselves in a tricky situation. But why do they find themselves in a tricky situation? They find themselves in a tricky situation because of the hostility of Tata Sons. They find themselves in a tricky situation because at the operating company level, the role of the independent director is very clear. Do what is in the best interest of the company. Now, what is happening is, when somebody is saying in the best interest of the company, based on the performance of the last 4 years, we would like Cyrus to continue being chairman, suddenly that independent director is attacked, their integrity is attacked, which I think is completely unfortunate and against the values of the Tata Group. And then they are tried to be pushed aside because they call an EGM or they call a board of directors and they start passing circular resolutions saying remove this independent director from the board. So the independent directors are caught in a tricky situation because many of these independent directors, they serve on multiple Tata boards. They are of course, what you call drawing compensation from these different boards. And the Tata Sons is putting a lot of pressure on them that, if you don't toe our line, and towing the Tata Sons line really means don't be independent. Be the promoter's director. What kind of independent director is this? If you have to toe the promoter's line, then you're not an independent director. You're not working for the best interest of the companies. You're not working for the best interest of the minority shareholders. All you become is another, what you call, rubber stamp for the promoter.
Which brings me back to resolution. How can that be achieved given what we've discussed so far?
There's full room to resolve the situation. Just put in place the highest standards of corporate governance in the Tata Group so that it's clear what is the role of the promoter, what is the role of Tata Sons board, what is the role of the Tata Sons Group Center, what is the role of the operating companies, what you call board of directors and executives, so that it can't be that the operating companies' decisions, which should be made by the board of the operating companies, because that's where the minority shareholder interests are represented, are suddenly become, based on the whim and fancies of one person.
Mr. Kumar, do you suspect that in the next few weeks temperatures could rise rather than fall?
I think, we are at the start of this process. As I've said earlier, Cyrus-Mistry has a few things going for him. Number one, he's of impeccable character. While he was at the Tata Sons, he ensured that everything would be run above board, which of course got some people upset because that meant that some of the hanger-ons from the past who were basically, making a lot of money by hanging around Tata, he looked at them and he said, listen, if you want to tender and if you have services to provide which are cost effective compared to what I can get from an alternative place, I'm happy to accept them. But on the other hand, if you're getting money just for hanging around or overcharging for your services, I will cut you out. So he, followed the highest standards of ethics while he was there, which meant some of these hangers-on got cut out. But he does know where all the problems of the Tata Group lie. And I think we are at the start of this process, and if they're going to attack him, they mistook his quiet confidence, his sincerity, his soft-spokenness, his gentlemanliness as a sign of weakness. And I think they're going to pay for that.
Mr. Kumar, personally, what do you plan to do next?
I'm going to go back to my consulting and academic world. I've already had feelers from 3 or 4 of the top universities in the world asking me if I would like to join them. So I suspect I'll end up there and go back to my consulting practice and my boards of directors.
Finally, what would be the title of a business school case study on what we're seeing at Tata Group right now?
So the headline would be, how do you transition from one leader to another leader, and what leads a leader to let go, and how you can be very successful but still be insecure.
I'm going to leave it at that. Nirmalaya Kumar, thanks very much for joining us on NDTV.
It's my pleasure.